So, we are now in a situation where African American males, along with white males of European stock, who are citizens, can now vote in our federal elections. No more property requirements, no more slaves. However, in the South, after the return of home rule after the period of Reconstruction, in other words, Reconstruction 1865, roughly to 1870, 72. By 1875, most southern states had revived their rights of home rule, been given back the right to vote, had a series of Jim Crow laws that would restrict blacks from exercising their franchise for another 100 years, until the 1960s. We'll talk about that. Okay. As the 1860s move on to the early 19-teens and about 1920, the country changes. It heavily industrializes many of its cities. We have more and more people living in the cities, working in factories, than living on the farm and working in the fields. We have a society that is allowing large numbers of immigrants to come in from Germany, from Ireland, from Italy, and from Eastern European Jews. These groups all come to the United States and change the character of the United States. So, one of the things that happens between 1868 and 1920 is something that you should be really familiar with. Mandatory public education. You have to be in school until you're age 16 in most states. Have to be. Requirement. You might ask, why? Why must I do this? Why school? I don't like it. Well, some people would wish that. Other people might say, well, it's good that I'm learning things because maybe it'll make me more competitive in the future. Less of an ignoramus. Maybe, we hope. As we acquire people who are not from Anglo-Saxon culture, as more and more people come to the United States who don't know about England's tradition of freedom, its unwritten constitution, its Bill of Rights, its parliamentary rule, the more that native-born Americans of English stock, and even some African Americans who've been Americanized, begin to wonder what happens when there are so many Italians or Jews from Eastern Europe or Irish or Germans who don't understand our freedom. Are we going to become like the Kaiser's Germany, or like the Tsar's Russia, or like the Kingdom of Italy? Are we going to lose that freedom that makes America special and great? The only answer that our ancestors came up with was that all y'all need to be educated. That by requiring every young person to go to school, either a public school or a parochial school, some kind of school that signs off and says, this child is being educated. That's the way that you turn the children of immigrants into Americans. You don't assume that it's okay for them to bring their distinct culture here and live like they're in the old country. No, that's not the American system. The American system in the mid to late 1800s is called the melting pot, euphemistically. And the melting pot is where you put a bunch of things to mix together. You have a little tin, you have a little copper, you mix them up right, and you end up with bronze. So we are going to let people come here from other countries, but we're going to expect that they learn English and that they support themselves, no welfare. And we're also going to expect that they are going to send their kids to American schools, where we do not have bilingual education. No, the kids grow up at home, living like an immigrant family, maybe speaking Gaelic if you're Irish, or Yiddish if you're Jewish, or German or Italian or whatever. But at school, you speak English, American English. The kids speak American English, the teachers speak American English, the instruction is in American English, and over time, through natural processes of the human mind, the kids of immigrants learn English, and they learn to function. But that's not all they learn. Public schools and mandatory education was not set up so that we can teach you all employable skills. It was set up to teach you to be citizens of the Republic, to understand what the Constitution stands for, to understand what freedom is and isn't. No, freedom is not the ability to choose to juggle babies with bayonets. No, freedom is not the ability to take substances and then go driving really fast down country roads. No, freedom is not the ability to play the knockout game with people where you're walking down the street and all of a sudden a group of thugs beats on you and tries to knock you out with one shot. You're not allowed to assault people. You're not allowed to kill people. You're not allowed to do dangerous things that are against the law. Freedom is not license. Freedom does not mean that you get to do whatever you feel like doing. No. Freedom is a responsibility. Now, one of the comments that I read so far says, well, people don't vote because they don't care about it, because they're not interested in it. Stay home. If you don't care enough to inform yourself, don't vote. Don't pollute the voting pool with your ignorance. If you do have an opinion, vote. Whether your opinion agrees with me or not, I don't care. Vote. But if you are ignorant of the process, stay home. Because you're not voting intelligently, you're like playing piñata with a revolver. We've talked about that. The idea of mandatory public education is to bring the children of immigrants from all over Europe and make their children Americans, and it worked. First generation, what in Japanese are called Issei, the people who come over, are like people with 1 foot in the old country and 1 foot in the United States, and they get jobs and they survive. But usually they're very difficult jobs, but they're very proud to have come to America, the land of freedom and opportunity. But usually they lead very hard lives. But their children are called Nisei, second generation immigrants in the Japanese language. And the Nisei are born here to immigrant parents. They know about the old country, maybe they visited the old country, maybe they speak the old language at home, but they've gone to American schools and they've learned to be American citizens growing up, among other things by taking civics class. So, the country decides to absorb immigrants from all over the world through the public education system that kids are required to attend, so that over time, it doesn't matter where your ancestors are from. You speak English, you've gone to school and graduated, you understand what the flag stands for, you understand what the Constitution represents, you understand your rights and your duties as a citizen, and you are capable of carrying your own responsibility and exercising your franchise wisely and preserving all of our freedoms with your participation and your vote. That's it for now.